The rescue that changed everything. The sky over Darnex 5 was red with smoke. Buildings stood half-broken. Fire and dust filled the air. Sirens screamed through the streets. Alien soldiers ran everywhere. The city was at war. In the middle of this chaos, a human named Daniel Cross ran alone. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't a hero. He was just a traveler who got stuck in the wrong place, but he wasn't running away. He was running toward the screams. He turned a corner and froze. A fallen tower had crushed part of a market. Alien civilians were crying and shouting. A small blue hand reached out from under the broken stone. A young alien girl, no older than 12, was trapped beneath the rubble. Everyone stood back. No one helped. The guard shouted, "Do not touch her, she is sacred." Daniel didn't understand. Sacred. She was dying. Without thinking, he threw his bag aside and rushed forward. "Stop, human!" one of the guards shouted, raising his plasma gun. Daniel ignored them. He dropped to his knees and began pulling at the rubble. Stone burned his hands. Dust filled his mouth. Still, he didn't stop. "Please, help me," the girl whispered, her voice weak. "I've got you," Daniel said. "Stay awake." The guards aimed at him. "This is your last warning." But Daniel didn't care. He pushed harder, using all his strength. At last, the final piece of rubble moved, and he pulled the girl out. Her small body was bruised and bleeding. Her eyes, glowing silver, looked up at him, filled with shock and wonder. Then came the sound of heavy boots. The guards surrounded him. "You touched a noble-blooded child without permission. That is a crime against the Empire." "What?" Daniel stood up slowly, confused. "I just saved her life." "You interfered with sacred protocol." The lead guard raised his weapon. "You will be imprisoned." Daniel looked at the girl. She was being carried away gently by medical bots. She turned her head. Their eyes met for one last moment. He expected her to look scared. Or angry. Instead, she looked sad. Hours later, Daniel sat in a cold, dark cell. The walls were made of smooth black metal, no window, no bed, just silence. His hands were still bleeding from the rescue. His shirt was torn, but his mind wasn't on the pain. It was on the girl. Why didn't they help her? Why was saving her a crime? The cell door opened. A tall alien in armor stepped inside. His skin was gray-blue, and his eyes were hard. "You are charged with violating the royal code," he said coldly. "You will not receive a trial. You will be transported to the outer mines tomorrow." Daniel stood up. "That girl would have died. I saved her." "She is a highborn. You are a human. You are nothing." The door slammed shut again. Daniel sat down, breathing slowly. "Nothing," the alien had said. But to that little girl, in that moment, he didn't feel like nothing. Suddenly, a soft sound came from the corner. A whisper. "Daniel." He turned quickly. There, half hidden in the shadows, stood the girl. Her silver eyes were glowing in the dark. She wore a hooded cloak and moved quietly like a ghost. "How did you get in here?" Daniel asked, shocked. "I have access to all royal zones," she said softly. "You saved me. You shouldn't be here. If they catch you—" "I don't care," she said. "I had to see you. I had to say thank you." Daniel smiled, tired. "I'm glad you're okay." She stepped closer. "They're sending you to the mines. No human survives there." "I figured," he said with a dry chuckle. "Bad vacation." Her expression turned serious. "I'll fix this, I promise." "No." Daniel shook his head. "Don't risk yourself." "I have to," she whispered. "You changed something in me. I was raised to see humans as tools, but you didn't treat me like one." She pulled something from her cloak. A crystal, key small and glowing. "Keep this," she said, slipping it through the bars. "It might help you later." Before he could say more, she turned and vanished back into the shadows. Daniel stared at the glowing crystal in his hand. The rescue had changed everything. He had no idea just how much it would change. Daniel had lost track of time. In the alien prison, there was no day or night. Just cold, blinking walls and a ceiling that hummed softly, almost like it was alive. His wounds had started to close, but the fear inside him only grew. He was alone. At least that's what they wanted him to believe. Then came the sound. Click, click, clunk. Footsteps. Not boots. Not metal. He stood up fast. From the shadows, a strange figure stepped forward. Tall and thin, wearing layered robes, the alien's face was hidden behind a bone-white mask with black eyes. The figure didn't speak. Instead, it held up a glowing disc and placed it on the wall. The lights flickered and went completely dark. Daniel reached for the wall behind him, heart pounding. Then a familiar voice whispered, "It's me." It was her. "Lyra?" Daniel said, barely believing it. She nodded, removing the mask. Her face was paler than before. Her silver eyes looked tired but strong. "You're crazy for coming back here," he said. "I know," she replied, "but I had to see you again. They've started the transfer process. You'll be sent to the outer mines tomorrow." "Figured. That's their idea of justice." Lyra's lips tightened. "No, that's their idea of erasing you." Daniel sat down. "Why do they hate humans so much?" "They don't hate you. They fear you," she said. "Our history speaks of humans like monsters, like shadows that ruin order. But when you saved me, I saw no monster." She looked at the floor. "I've been trained to obey laws, to follow every rule. But since that day, something inside me has changed." Daniel watched her closely. "So what now?" She looked up. "I'm breaking the rules." The next day, Daniel was pulled from his cell. 4 armed guards walked beside him holding shock rods. He didn't struggle. He didn't beg. He only asked one question. "Where are we going?" "To your last sunrise," one of the guards replied, with a grin. As they passed through long metal corridors, Daniel noticed something strange. The walls buzzed louder than usual. Screens flickered. Even the lights blinked like a storm was building inside the prison itself. Then came a sudden power cut. Darkness. Red warning lights came on. Alarms blared. The guards shouted in confusion. That's when something exploded in the distance. Boom, boom, boom. The floor shook. Smoke filled the hall. One of the guards ran ahead to call for backup. The others dragged Daniel faster. But then, the floor under them opened. A hidden door. The guard screamed as a force field yanked Daniel down, safely. He landed hard inside a tunnel, coughing from the dust. A voice came through a small comm in his ear. "Daniel, can you hear me?" It was Lyra. "What the hell just happened?" "I created a distraction," she said, "and I hacked the prison grid." "You did all this?" "Yes, with help." "Help?" A mechanical voice joined in. "Greetings. I am Toric, Rebel Class AI. I have temporarily suspended prison systems for 93 seconds. Proceed immediately." "Who the hell is Toric?" "A friend," Lyra said quickly. "Follow the blue lights. I'll explain everything when you're safe." Daniel ran through the tunnel. The floor lit up as he stepped. Distant guards shouted, above. The path twisted and turned, leading deeper beneath the prison. Then he reached a dead end, or so he thought. Suddenly the wall hissed open, and a hand reached out. It was Lyra. She pulled him into a dark chamber filled with stolen tech and old alien weapons. Strange symbols glowed on the walls. Screens flickered with security feeds. "Where are we?" Daniel asked, breathing hard. "An old rebel hideout," she said. "Long before our empire rose, this place belonged to those who believed in freedom." He looked around. "You're serious about this?" She met his eyes. "I'm not going to let you die." Daniel felt his heart race. Not from fear, but something else. He smiled. "Then let's make sure they regret this." Lyra sat alone in her private chamber, eyes glowing softly in the moonlight. She was not sleeping. She was studying. Maps, old prison codes, restricted transport routes, and stolen access keys. Outside, the city looked calm, but inside Lyra's heart, a storm was growing. She glanced at her wrist display. Daniel had made it out of the lower tunnels. For now, he was safe. But if the guards found him again, they wouldn't take him prisoner, they'd kill him. Her hands shook slightly as she typed more commands into her console. Each keystroke meant betrayal. Every file she copied was a law broken. But he saved me. When no one else did, she whispered to herself, "Now I'll save him no matter what it costs." A knock sounded at the door. Lyra quickly shut everything down. Yes? It was her personal assistant, a young alien woman named Vetra. "My lady, the council is meeting early. Your father is asking for you." Lyra nodded calmly. "Tell him I'll be there in a moment." As the door closed again, her face changed. Serious, focused. Tonight she would finish the escape plan, and tomorrow, the system would fall. In the hidden chamber below the city, Daniel leaned against the wall, still catching his breath. He'd cleaned his wounds and eaten real food for the first time in days, but he couldn't relax. He looked at the small glowing crystal Lyra had given him. Why would someone like her risk everything for someone like me? Then a soft sound came from the side hallway. Lyra entered wearing dark traveler clothes and a scarf around her neck. "You shouldn't be here," Daniel said. "They'll track you." "I disabled the trackers," she said with a sly smile. "And I wasn't followed." She sat across from him. The silence between them was not awkward. It was heavy, with unspoken thoughts. "I don't understand why you're doing this," Daniel finally said. "You saved me," she replied simply. "That doesn't mean you owe me your life." "It's not about owing. It's about truth," she said. "All my life I was told humans are dangerous, weak, selfish. But when I was dying, it wasn't one of my people who came to help. It was you." Daniel looked away. "I didn't do anything special. You did. You gave me a second chance at life, so I'm giving you the same." Lyra showed Daniel the plan. She had hacked into the royal shuttle schedules. She had created false IDs and arranged for escape codes. She even had an ally on the outer rim who agreed to shelter them, but it wasn't enough. "To reach the hangar," she explained, "we'll need to cross the public square." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "In daylight?" She nodded. "And in disguise." "Great," he muttered. "I always wanted to wear a dress." She laughed quietly, a rare sound from her. "Don't worry, I picked something more your style." Later that night, under the light of the twin moons, the two of them stepped out of the old tunnels. Daniel wore a black robe with a covered hood, looking like a noble escort. Lyra walked beside him, holding a data tablet, pretending to be a minor diplomat. They walked slowly but confidently. No one stopped them, but as they reached the edge of the square, a patrol drone flew overhead and paused. Beep. Scanning. Daniel tensed. Lyra's hand reached into her coat, ready to trigger the emergency signal. Then, the drone beeped twice and flew away. They both let out a breath of relief. "That was close," Daniel whispered. "Too close," she replied. They reached the outer wall of the hangar station, but the gates were sealed. Suddenly, Lyra's wrist display lit up red. "Alert. Your access has been suspended. Her father had discovered something. They've locked me out," she said in panic. "They know." Daniel looked at her. "Then we go over the wall. It's 20 feet tall, with electrified barriers." Daniel looked at the crates stacked nearby, then at the pipes above. He smiled. "You forgot something. Humans are good at climbing." By the time they reached the top of the wall, alarms had started in the distance. Lyra looked back at the city she once called home. "I can't go back," she whispered. Daniel stood beside her. "Then don't." She looked into his eyes. "I'm scared." He held out his hand. "So was I. But I trusted you." She took his hand. And in that moment, under the silver moons, she made a silent promise in her heart. "I will fight this whole system just to keep him free." The hangar lights were dim. Cargo ships hovered silently in place, ready for departure. Automated loaders beeped and moved around like mindless ants. Lyra and Daniel stayed hidden behind a fuel tank, watching the guards. Lyra whispered, "That ship, C-Class Star Jumper 29. It's fast and unregistered. It'll take us beyond the system." Daniel nodded. "And the pilot? Paid off. Loyal to no one. He'll fly us without questions." Everything had gone smooth so far. Too smooth. Lyra checked her wrist display. "We walk across the tarmac in exactly 40 seconds when the loaders cross paths and block the cameras." "Got it," Daniel replied. "Let's go." They moved quickly. But just before they reached the ship, something strange happened. Another cloaked figure walked ahead of them. Guards greeted him. "Welcome, diplomatic envoy Karen." Lyra froze. "That's my cover name." Daniel's eyes narrowed. "Someone else is using your ID?" She nodded slowly. "That means they know we're escaping. They've created a trap." He looked at her. "Do we run?" "No," she whispered. "We changed the plan." They ducked into a maintenance tunnel under the hangar. The air smelled like oil and fire. Pipes hissed above them. Lyra was breathing hard, her mind racing. "They're ahead of us now," she said. "They knew we'd use that ID." "Then they're not just chasing us," Daniel said. "They're studying us." Lyra looked at him. He wasn't just strong, he was smart, quick, calm under pressure. That's why she had risked everything for him. Inside the tunnel, Lyra pulled out a small silver cube. She placed it against the wall and tapped it. A hidden panel slid open, revealing a dusty elevator. "This was built during the old wars," she said. "It leads to the emergency launch bay. Only one small ship there, but no guards, no cameras." Daniel smiled. "That's more my style." Meanwhile, back in the main hangar, a commander watched the security feed. "He didn't show," one officer said. The commander narrowed his eyes. "They've changed the plan. Lock down all exits, and tell the Queen, the highborn girl has betrayed us." Back in the old launch bay, the stolen shuttle looked ancient but functional. Lyra ran a fast systems check. Daniel loaded supplies. Water, heat packs, stun pistols. But as the engines powered up, Lyra's face turned pale. "What is it?" Daniel asked. "Two royal ships just left orbit. They're chasing something." Daniel tilted his head. "Us?" "No," she said slowly. "They think we're on the wrong ship." They both looked at each other. "That means," Daniel said, "we have time." Lyra nodded. "Time to disappear." The ship took off silently through the hidden tunnel, launching upward and slicing through the night sky like a ghost. No alarms, no locks, no patrols. They were free. For now, in orbit, the royal fleet scanned every ship leaving the main gates. No sign of the fugitives. The Queen's voice echoed across the comms. "Find them, or don't bother coming back." Hours later, Daniel and Lyra sat inside the small cockpit floating far from the planet. The stars looked calm now, silent. Daniel leaned back, sighing. "You pulled it off." Lyra smiled faintly. "Not yet. The real escape is just beginning." He looked at her. "You're not what I expected." She laughed gently. "Neither are you." Then her face turned serious. "If they find us again, they won't take prisoners." "Then we'll make sure they never get close," Daniel said. She nodded. "From now on, no more hiding." But far behind them, in a hidden war room, a high-ranking noble placed a tracker on the map. "I don't care how far she runs," he said. "She is royal blood. She belongs to us." His assistant asked, "And the human?" The noble's eyes burned. "With anger, he dies last." Daniel jumped from his seat. "Did they find us already?" Lyra's hands flew across the control board. "No. This isn't them. This is the ship itself. It's been programmed with a lockdown protocol." The lights dimmed. Red warning signs blinked across the walls. Lockdown mode. Prisoner transport protocol initiated. Daniel's jaw clenched. It was a trap, No, Lyra's voice shook. This ship is older. Someone reactivated an old security system. The engine stopped. The ship started drifting toward a nearby moon, one covered in dark tunnels and old ruins. We're being pulled in, Lyra said. We can't stop it. The shuttle crash-landed in a deep canyon. Dust and sparks flew. They were lucky the ship didn't explode. Daniel coughed, wiping blood from his mouth. Well, at least we're not dead. Lyra stood up, limping slightly. We need to move. This moon used to be a prison colony, long abandoned. Daniel grabbed a bag of supplies. Then let's pray it's still empty. They stepped into the shadows of the moon, twisting caves, broken machines, rusted doors, the underworld of the galaxy. But they weren't alone. From above, cloaked figures watched, silent, waiting. The underworld wasn't empty. As they moved through the tunnels, Daniel noticed strange symbols on the walls, human letters, old Earth language. He ran his hand over them. This says, "Welcome home," Lyra frowned. Why would a prison moon have human words? Daniel stared at the markings. This wasn't just a prison. It was a human prison. A long time ago, Lyra's eyes widened. Then maybe someone left something behind. Suddenly, voices echoed from the tunnel ahead. Search Team Gamma, this way. Daniel and Lyra ducked behind an old generator. Soldiers in silver armor passed by, not royal guards, but mercenaries, hired hunters. They didn't send a fleet, Daniel whispered. They sent trackers. They know we can't run now, Lyra replied. So they're boxing us in. The two kept moving. Deeper into the underworld, past glowing rocks, past old bones. Finally, they reached a sealed metal door. The console was dead. Lyra stepped forward and inserted the silver crystal key Daniel still carried. It clicked. The door opened. Inside was an old control room. Screens powered up. Lights blinked to life. A dusty chair turned slowly, revealing an AI unit. Its eyes flickered. Hello, human. Welcome back to Site 17. Daniel stared at it. You know me? The AI scanned him. No, but your DNA matches former Earth military records. Clearance granted. Lyra looked amazed. How long has this place been active? The AI replied, shutdown occurred 232 galactic years ago, but failsafe systems remain operational. Daniel grinned. Can you defend this place? Yes, but you must give the order. Lyra looked at him. You're in command now. The mercenaries entered the tunnels outside. Their scanners blinked. They moved closer. Then, the walls exploded with sonic blasts. Traps activated. Energy barriers locked them in. Screams echoed through the dark. Daniel stood over the main console. We bought time, but they'll send more. Lyra nodded. And we'll be ready. Daniel looked at her. Really? Looked she had lost everything, her family, her future, her name. All to keep him safe. He placed a hand on her shoulder. You don't have to do this anymore. She shook her head. I want to. And so, beneath the surface of a forgotten moon, in an ancient human prison turned fortress, a bond stronger, then war began to form. They were hunted, they were outnumbered, but they weren't done yet. Alarms screamed. Daniel ran through the smoke-filled halls of the ruined prison base. The AI's voice echoed everywhere. Warning, intruders have breached Sector 3, structural collapse in progress. He jumped over a broken pipe and kicked open a door. Lyra. No answer. The last time he saw her, she was heading toward the power core to reset the defenses. Then, an explosion. Now half the base was burning. He couldn't lose her, not after everything. Meanwhile, Lyra lay on her side beneath a pile of fallen steel beams. Her ears rang, her arm was bleeding, but her mind stayed clear. She had one mission: restart the defense core before the enemy reached Daniel. She pushed the beam off with a grunt, stood up and limped toward the main terminal. Smoke choked the air, but she kept going. because Daniel was fighting for her, and she would not let him stand alone. Above the surface, a royal ship hovered just outside the moon's atmosphere. Inside, the Queen stood before a wide screen, watching it all unfold. One of her officers turned to her. "The human survived the mines, he's building resistance." The Queen's eyes narrowed. "No, he's infecting our future." She raised her hand. "Order a full cleansing, burn the entire moon." Back below, Daniel found the AI control chamber. It was nearly destroyed. Sparks flew from the ceiling. "Torek," he shouted. The AI's voice flickered. "Power failing. Defense shields at 22%. Where is Lyra?" "Location. Core chamber." Daniel didn't wait. He ran. He found her just as the chamber collapsed behind her. She was hunched over the core terminal, fingers flying across the display. "Lyra," she looked back. Her face was dirty, her hair singed, but her eyes, still bright. "Almost done," she gasped. Daniel ran to her side. "We need to go." "I can't. If I stop now, the core melts down. This whole place explodes." He grabbed her hand. "Then I'm staying with you." Up above, the Queen's ship charged its main cannon. Energy built up, enough to wipe the moon from the sky. But before they could fire, something strange happened. The moon lit up. A giant blue energy dome spread from its core, blocking the cannon's line of fire. One of the Queen's generals gasped. "They've activated ancient tech." The Queen's eyes widened. "They've awakened something we buried long ago." Back underground, the core finally stabilized. Lyra fell back into Daniel's arms, barely conscious. "You did it," he whispered. She looked up at him, tired but smiling. "You believed in me, when I didn't even believe in myself." Daniel helped her to her feet. "We're not done yet," he said. "But this was a victory." The AI's voice returned, steadier now. "Defenses are online. Hostile units have been eliminated. System integrity restored." Lyra looked at the screens. The moon was safe for now. As they sat down to rest, surrounded by flickering lights and silence, Daniel turned to her. "You're not the same girl I rescued that day." She looked at him. "No. I'm someone better. Because of you." They didn't need to say more. In the fire, in the darkness, they had found each other, and that bond could not be broken. Far away, on the royal world, the Queen watched in silence. "They survived the fire," she whispered. Her voice was cold. "Then we will bring them to their knees in chains." Across the stars, a stolen message played on every screen, every planet, every royal world. "My name is Lyra. I broke the law, I broke tradition, and now I break the silence." The Queen's palace sat in silence. Nobles stared at their glowing screens, shocked. Citizens paused in the streets, in shops, in ships, in war zones. All eyes were on the face of one alien girl, and the human who stood behind her. Lyra's voice echoed like thunder through every system. "He saved me when no one else would. He risked everything. And in return, you wanted him erased. I won't allow it. From this day forward, the old rules are broken." On the hidden moon, Daniel stood beside her. The AI, Torek, had hacked into the royal broadcast channels using the ancient tech they uncovered. In the old prison base, they didn't just fight back with weapons, they fought back with truth. Guards rushed into the Queen's chambers. "Shut it down!" she screamed, but it was too late. The people had seen everything. A royal child speaking for a human, defending him, loving him. It changed everything. Hours passed, and then came the storm. Protests, marches, rebellion. Nobles fled their homes. The royal army was split. Half obeyed the Queen, the other half stood with Lyra. Daniel and Lyra were no longer fugitives. They were symbols. But peace never comes easily. The Queen launched one final attack, a deep strike meant to crush the rebels and capture Daniel alive. They came with warships and fire. But Daniel was ready. At the moon's command center, alarms lit. Up again. Royal fleet incoming, Torek warned. 10 ships, heavy firepower. Daniel turned to Lyra. This is the last battle. Lyra took a deep breath. Then let's make it count. The battle raged in orbit. Energy blasts lit up the sky like falling stars. Lyra led the defense grid. Daniel manned the old cannons. Alien rebels, humans, outcasts, all stood together. For the first time they were one. Not humans, not aliens, just people. When the dust cleared, only one royal ship remained. It turned and fled. The Queen had lost. Not just the battle, but the heart of her people. Weeks passed. The galaxy changed. New leaders rose. New laws were written, and Lyra stood before the Interworld Council, holding Daniel's hand. We were told we couldn't be friends, she said, that we couldn't fight side by side or care for each other, but we did. And now, we'll build something better. That night, on a quiet hill beneath twin moons, Daniel and Lyra looked at the stars. He asked, "So, what now?" She smiled. "Now we live." He looked at her. "You gave up your world for me, and you gave up your freedom for me." She leaned closer. "You're not just the human who saved me. You're the reason I broke the sky."